Greetings. Okay, I haven't done one of these in a very long time. Connected to Native Americans, connecting to. I just chose the Mohawk tribe. There's always Sitting Bull. I can always channel him. Maybe I'll do one. Maybe I'll do a connection there tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Of course, the other Native Americans are obviously suppressed by the white man here. Of course, most of them died of smallpox, which is crazy. Through the Spanish. So you believe the Americans all you want. The Spanish had a lot to do with it too. Not that they were trying to do anything, but you can see it was their time to go. So for our modern world, that's at least for the U.S. in its own decay. Well, maybe they'll give the land back to, like in Portland. Maybe give back to give it back to the Native Americans. So it's just a bunch of crack addicts there right now. So maybe it's a turnaround there. I think also the government is looking at some of the treaties they did with the U.S. or with the U.S. did treaties with the Native Americans, giving them land and then taking it back. And they gave them Oklahoma. They gave Oklahoma. They gave it to Native Americans, but then they took it back and gave the Native Americans like a small part, a small spot, a small part of land. Of course, they kept giving Native Americans all this land, but they kept taking it back. That's throughout the country. So, an Indian giver, I guess you could say. Not exactly the best pass. Well, it's like, of course, the European settlers here. I mean, they can see the progress to grow, to build housing and everything, civilization, in a European form, or we saw the modern version of it at that time. And, they saw that land just sitting there not doing anything. It's like, we can do something with that. So that's where that came from. So, but it looks like the U.S. is trying to make up for some of that on some level. I guess a lot of our casinos are connected to the Native Americans, so they're getting some back. But a lot of them, the modern Native Americans have losing their spiritual connections because they've become modernized. Not to say all of them are that connected in the past. The Indian chiefs are connected to spirituality, but it doesn't mean all of them. And some of the chiefs are connected to dark beings and all that. Who knows? I mean, there's smoke in their pipes, and who knows what they're tapping into. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Who knows? But the Mohawks are one of the more aggressive tribes. Hunters. Of course, they fought against the Americans pretty well. So, and Mohawks are connected to the Empire State Building. Its creation. They're just on the Empire State Building, not worrying about falling down or anything. It's freaking crazy. They just walking the scaffolding. It's no big deal. There's a Washington Bridge also. So the Mohawks are in the New York area. So they adapted to it. I mean, it's just, obviously they're still here, but of course the spirituality does need to come back in some form, but way. So it's happened to their energies, for a helpful connection, not to bash the American dream and all that, or it's like, how can you own land and all that? Because it's the land of the earth, but whatever, we'll find a way, right? So, of course, a lot of the U.S. is in a bit of a decline. Not entirely, just in areas. So, of course, instead of connected to the land, they're connected to drugs. Of course, I guess the Native Americans had their own drugs too. So, of course, some of the Native Americans are kind of aggressive towards the females in their tribes. I would say that's more of the hunter, like even the Mohawks. Some of them, those are just the hunters. I feel like they're more aggressive. Just the way they were raised. Yeah. So yeah, it's not all perfect. And not all of them were spiritually connected. I mean, they understand this their culture, they understand the spirits. Um, Unlike our culture doesn't understand anything. Some do, but most could care less. They go to church instead and get mind control. That's their version of spirituality. So anyway, why are you going to all that? Yeah, just look at that. I just looked, about the Hindus and their rituals. Ouch! I didn't really know about those. I'm not gonna bring it up. Like, gosh, jeez. Oh well. Well, the pictures look nice of their gods, but some of their rituals are freaking barbaric. Anyway, we're not talking about them right now. So going to the Viking energies. Not that we're going to go into Thor, but I guess the Vikings and the Native Americans had a little bit of a fight, which I believe so for sure. Obviously, there's a lot they're not telling us about the U.S. or North America. They're not going to either. Like, it was discovered a long time before history and all, but it doesn't really matter. And go to going to the Viking energies, just what they have to say about their culture, anything they got. And then it goes to X-Files. Just anything bizarre that needs to be talked about, squid beings that need to be connected to, or wherever the hell it is that's out there. So one thing about the alien, I know it's like the UFO stuff's not that interesting, probably to most of the population, probably could care less, but that's part of our next evolution. It's going to happen eventually. You'll have a squid beings, appear on our planet one day. Of course, they'll be like, remember the days when we didn't have cockroach beings walking around? It's like, those days are going to come eventually. It might be 1,000 years in the future or wherever it's going to happen. This is inevitable. It's just part of evolution. However it occurs, or giants, or whatever it might be, whatever the human consciousness is going to allow to connect on a physical level. So that's where it's important. It's not going to go away. Let's put it that way. Far from it. Well, unless you start seeing 6-finger people walking around. Jeez. Yeah, might as well. Or 2-headed people. We'll just morph on our own way. We'll just do it our own way. So what happened to? I didn't come here prepared. I forgot. I don't know what I was looking up. Just real quick. Yeah, it's too easy looking at the Native American stuff. Just do a quick overview here. Simons.com. Pro sessions. Scheduler. We have shop here. And that's about all we got going on there. Just keep it simple. So, okay. All right, the cats were running around here earlier, but now they're back to their 12-hour nap, or 24-hour nap, whatever it is that you call it. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Well, it's also the human consciousness, the energy that's happening here. The crazy that's going on so many different levels. So, just what humanity is going through. I agree, causes a lot of the weather issues. Also, worry of the future, anxiety, goes to the Earth's energy, comes back as rain or rainstorms or thunderstorms, whatever it might. Especially like in Washington D.C., where there's so much corruption there. I'm surprised they don't have their own hurricane there every day. Due to all the backstabbing that's going on and everything. So anyway. All right. Okay, all right. We're connected to the Mohawks, or just connected to the Mohawks and the Native American frequency in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the Mohawk frequencies. In the past, I connected to like Sitting Bull or some of the Indian chiefs. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to go to the Vikings and then the X Files and all the weirdness. So, all right, blessings. Here we go. Greetings, we are the Mohawks. But yes, we don't see your civilization as a civilization. We just see it as a lost nation. Well, you put yourselves in boxes, into buildings, into prisons, while we lived out in the land, where we can see everything. Yes, you can. It rains and there are some elements, tornadoes, but even there, we learned how to handle it. The sky is our world. Our there's no walls anywhere. We just felt so free. And as for humans bringing their prisons with them, basically, to put themselves in little shelters and locking themselves out from nature, shows us that, well, yes, this is a backwards society. And obviously a vicious society also. We were not necessarily strong enough to fight, but then again, do we want to adapt that in our own culture? No. So you can see that part of why so many Native Americans died out, because a new era was coming in, and we did. Our presence is still here, of course. You can say it is alien. Of course, you can connect to all sorts of beings, aliens, angels, whatever you call them, creatures of the unknown. We're just not all Native Americans were, psychically connected to it. They even had much of an interest of it. They just did what they were told and just to live off the land and have children and just enjoy, what they can, enjoy life, or just to. Of course, it wasn't easy within the tribes either, basically, because you had to survive. So your life was about survival, but it was still a simplistic life overall, as the white man appeared and to put itself in jail cells and call that a living, create towns that felt soulless with all these agendas. It was stylistic to a certain level, but still felt very hollow. It's like, look, they brought their problems with them. They brought their ghosts, they brought their demons, they brought it all. They don't even understand their demons. Some of them become their demons. And so there's a lot of ignorance that came with the human population, or it's the white man. Or obviously it's not just the white man, it's other, well, we'll just call it the white man because that's usually the European energy. Yes, and there's no love for each other. I mean, there is and there isn't, especially when it comes to different races. Obviously, within your race, as you know, these are the Europeans that came over. They brought their problems and destroyed the land. And there is some preservation going on currently, of course. But like I said, the Native Americans were just not strong enough to fight it. And it would not necessarily was our job to do so. Nature will do it instead. So Native Americans just connected more with nature. When they died, they went to nature's frequency. Of course, we were already part of nature's energy already. And became spirit beings, sometimes ghosts, sometimes they're haunting, some of the white men after our death. And there is some haunting still going on due to atrocities done by the white man. So those that died of smallpox left pretty easily, not entirely, but they weren't really ghost beings. Some of them were, but a lot of them just crossed over without a problem. Of course, they didn't exactly live the most decent life, but that was the end of an era. And all the agendas coming into to North America, as it wasn't really called North America, that was just called by your people. And we had different names of it, of course. But we can feel the land. We can feel the spirit beings. We know we were always being watched. Not necessarily judged, but we know the spirit realms are always around and warning from us. And just, it was just a peacefulness overall. Not to say Native Americans are always easy among each other. Obviously, some were just had agendas, just like the white man. It's like ego fought ego. So yeah, when the white man showed up, the Native Americans that had a lot of issues in themselves had no problems fighting the white man or to slaughter them. Had absolutely did not care. So, and that's been building up for some time. So it's like I'm ready for war, basically. And the Mohawk tribes are mostly just about survival, also basically protecting the land. It wasn't just about the Indians; it's about the land itself. So fighting for Mother Nature, you could say. And not to say we've fully lost, because it's still here. And even the US is still haunted by its past. Not to say it's Native Americans trying to haunt it, but the past still has a haunting around it, as some of you can feel. And so it's just that there's a history, a buried history that will resurrect itself eventually. Of course, there's an alien energy, but we still see ourselves as God's people in the long run. There's no better or worse. I mean, some do have agendas against others, yes, service to self. That's always going to happen in all cultures. But that's why you have your Indian chiefs to root it out. Well, to acknowledge it, but you're still loved within the community, even if you do have your agendas. And there was a lot of acceptance within the white man also. That's we don't have to fight and destroy each other. We can make some kind of peace, and that did exist um, in the past, of course, and still now. It's just the white man currently, or the modern man of the U.S. is, yes, very lost. Not everybody, but quite a few. And I've forgotten past, not realize there are ghost energies still here, not just from the Indians, but also from the heritage of the U.S. It's still haunting this world. Unfinished business, so many mistakes, a lot of racial issues that have not been cleared. And to clear that, all that has to be healed, not easily. For your ascension, as you're looking for it to be successful. Well, basically, it's like acknowledging the land. You don't have to live on the land, but just realize it has a soul all of its own, as you know. Brings you. We are the Viking consciousness. There's a lot, yes, a history that the Vikings are not too proud of just service to self. Not all of the Vikings, but the leaders were not the best leaders, and like I said, led to the destruction of the Vikings. But of course, are settling down in Norway. Of course, he went to many parts of the world and saw many creatures of the past and went into our mythology. I mean, literally, I feel like we saw what is now our religion, or at least our mythology, as you would call it. But technically, it's for us a religion. So not to make the creatures under the sea angry, because there was many of them. It was definitely a different world back then. You never know when the ocean's going to try and take you down. So we basically felt like we mastered the ocean for the most part, but still were aware of as many mysteries, even during our time, if we were not able to figure out. But what our experience was, yes, to master the land also, to grow our nation, which you can say I went into Canada, even parts of the U.S. Well, I went to Canada, actually. Maybe not in your history, but it's there. Nova Scotia, you can say. So Greenland also wasn't much there, but we still have our energies there currently. Of course, a lot has been hit erased from our past, that your governments don't want you to know about. Our belief systems, you can say. There's a lot that's within us that's, yeah, it's been lost for various different reasons. But you can say we've had a knowledge, like a secret society within our group, you can say, that's been hidden from society. Eventually, that's might appear eventually. Not that it's kept quite, hidden from various different. It's the things that we saw. We did see giants in your past, but it's much more. Even like your mythical Atlantis, we connected to lands that did not make a whole lot of sense. Like, how are these civilizations even created? Of course, now it's all gone. Your time, or in our time, there's still remnants of it, and we did not understand it. Something, like you would call a TV show, like some kind of fantasy realm. Is like, just words will not describe it very well. So, blessings. Brings the consciousness of the X Files or UFO file energies. Realize, as you know, many of you are disconnecting more to yourself, your extraterrestrial self, you basically your heritage. The rest of your world is not really looking for it. Some know, but maybe too much, and rather forget it. uh, some of it's Anunnaki connected. There's just a lot of histories that a lot of your tribes on your planet are, it's giving you a little bit hints of the beings that have been here. Yes, strange looking beings. Well, you see a lot of those African tribes dressing up in all these strange costumes. Those beings were here at one time. And well, physically, but still, the presence is still here. So you want your disclosure. It might be a more stranger than you want to handle, than you want to even acknowledge. Yes, even with the Hindus, they're doing well. That was the human side of this. Well, the humans want to reconnect to the Hindus, the power of the gods, and so they're doing things that are a bit barbaric. That not necessarily the gods were really asking for, but the humans at that time wanted to find some way to reconnect to their power that was been forgotten. So as for the African tribe, just a lot of strangeness there. Those beings are definitely real, and not even to mess with. Not to say they're necessarily negative. They're just strange, and like I say, your population is still digesting what little that you do know. Just this world was the gates of this world open up to so many different levels, and so that's another reason why there's third world countries that are still very going through a great deal. There's a galactic history that's been forgotten. Galactic wars. It's like it's unsettling to even mention. It's like it's erased for a reason. And basically, you're lifting the lid of your past. It's not going to be a joyous one to remember. As some of you might have some idea of it. Yes, many are trying to go into secret space ideas and all that, but what about on your world? Yes, of your, like I say, your different mythologies, your tribes. That's a lot more traumatic. Basically, to keep your human here, to lock it down, to call it imprisoned, but kind of. Well, I mean, why you're all genetically similar, which that wasn't always the case in the past. There's different types of humans that had different DNA altogether, different type of brain types altogether. You have 6 fingers, 7 fingers, whatever it might be. And some look like cat people and dog people and so on. You don't see that here in your physical realms. There might be some remnants of it, but still, you're all pretty much identical for the most part. I mean, if you have different DNAs, you're still, you have 5 fingers, 5 toes, you have 1 head, and so on. That wasn't always the case in the past, as some of you know. And it's a little bit horrific for some. Yeah, it's like, can I their spirituality? It's like, are you sure you want to know what's really out there? So that's why the past has been buried. It's a very, very violent past. Some in Africa, a lot around the world. It's just not when you start memories start opening up again and just basically seeing what happened to the human race of just humans, how they treated each other in the past, also how the aliens treated humans, which wasn't very good. I mean, aliens treated humans like animals. It wasn't just the Anunnaki. They get it wasn't just them. They just treat them like humans are like pets. Not exactly, but servants, slaves, things like that. Of course, you have a slave race technically, and that has to do with the alien presence here, not just Anunnaki. They keep getting in that rap. It goes so much deeper than that. So,